Bless all the paths our feet walk to be free. Bless all the paths our feet walk to be free.
Every talk I do is tied to the next talk, and I've been marrying all my talks together. And we've been talking about last week of harvest of love, and when it was time to look at all the different things in our lives and bring them in and reel them in and harvest what we've sown, and to realize where some of the seeds that we've planted may have fallen on stony ground and never took any kind of hold at all, never became rooted at all. They just simply got washed away with the waters. And we also talked about what happens to most of our dreams, passions, that they get stuck in the thorns and they get choked. And so many times our dreams, our lives, our passions get choked. This is about that replanting. This is about reseeding. This is about knowing when it's time to rebuild the temple. But there's all different kinds of temples. I rarely read from the Bible. I don't have anything against the Bible. There's been a lot of beautiful, wonderful stories written in this Bible, and there's been a lot of things that we have misunderstood in this Bible. This particular one is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John have written different stories of Jesus' walk from their perspective. This is John, and it's chapter 2, verse 18, and this is about the temple. I'm going to read this to you. we most of us know the story of Jesus cleansing the temple and how he got a little flustered with what was going on and the sales and all the debauchery going on in what was considered by the people of the time a holy place. So remember, he was the irreverent reverend of his time. He was popping bubbles. So the Jewish Passover was near as Jesus went to Jerusalem. And in the temple, precincts came upon people engaged selling oxen, sheep, and doves, and others seated exchanging coins. He made a kind of whip of cords and drove sheep and oxen alike out of the temple area, knocked over the money changers' tables, spilling their coins. He told those who were selling doves, "Get them out of here. Stop turning my Father's house into a marketplace." His disciples recall the words scriptures, "Zeal for your house consumes me," which we can get to in a different section. At this, the Jews responded, and this is really what this talk is about. What sign can you show us authorizing you to do these things? Because he had just destroyed the temple, and they're basically saying, who are you? What authority do you have to destroy these things? And he said, in response, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. They retorted, this temple took 46 years to build, and you're going to raise it up in 3 days? Actually, he was talking about the temple of his body. Only after Jesus had been raised from the dead did his disciples recall that he had said this and come to believe the scripture and the word he had spoken to them. While he was in Jerusalem during the Passover festival, many believed in his name, for they could see the signs he was performing. For his part, Jesus would not trust himself to them because he knew them all. He needed no one to give him testimony about human nature. He was well aware of what was in man's heart. And this is really the part of this that I'm talking about. Jesus was talking from a very wide perspective of things here. Because, again, he was the irreverent reverend of his time. He was the one popping the bubbles of dogma and religion. And when he said to them, remember they said, this took 46 years to build. What are you talking about? How are you going to destroy this and rebuild it in 3 days? And he wasn't talking about a physical building. He wasn't talking about it at all. But he also knew, and that's that part at the very end where it says he knew the mind of man. He knew exactly what they were going to make of him. He knew the stories that were going to be told. He knew that they were going to misunderstand the lessons that he was trying to tell. Because the whole death, rebirth story of Jesus has been told before, iconically, in different religions and different traditions. But what they're talking about is a human condition. They're talking about the spirit within us. The fact that we have to have ego deflation at depth. We need to destroy everything within us to rebuild it. At some time in our life, that has happened to each and every one of us in a certain aspect of our life. You guys just saw me walk through it. My whole life just changed. I have to own this line right here. To reconstruct means something was destroyed. We have to breathe into this sometimes and own the fact that if I know I'm in a new world and that I have newness before me and an opportunity to recreate, that I first have to own and remember that means something is no longer. Either my seed died because I planted it on unfertile ground, or it got choked to death because I planted it amidst the worry and woe of this life, and I didn't go back inside enough to exercise and flex my faith muscle. I have to exercise everything. If I want to get better in anything in the world, I still have to exercise. If I want to physically get better, I have to take care of the temple. So this talk is going to be synonymous with all four of this, well, there's only three on that one, but all four of the bodies that I've always likened to the ceiling fan. When you take one of the blades off, they go wop, 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 wop. And I'm not making an Italian joke. That the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual body always have to be in balance, and that sometimes we have to rebuild. I'm smack in the middle of rebuilding my entire life. I am in a place of, I have walked out at the end of the tunnel from all the woe and the hardship that I was going through, and the emotional overwhelmedness, and I call it mopey guy, whatever you want to call it, without beating myself up for that. But I also, when I walked out of the tunnel, what did I walk into? I walked into unknown. I'm in a brand new world. I'm in a whole new world in my life. Everything in my life is unwritten. I am about to write it all. I am continuing to write the script of my life. We all are. And sometimes we have to breathe into this and know that for me to start over means something fell down. Something crumbled. Now I can just sit there and focus on the crumbling, and I did. I focused on a lot of the crumbling, and it was okay. I had to grieve the crumbles. I had to grieve all the things in my life that personally fell apart. But sometimes we have to grieve the things in our community that fell apart. What if we had a group project going on? And it wasn't just me. It was maybe 5 to 10 of us. We were co-creating something. That means each one of us have to go inside and own that something broke and that we have to start over. We're going through it right here, folks. A thing is what it is. You're never going to find me to not talk about the elephant in the room. Not the guy for that. I'm always going to call things what it is. We know our numbers have been waning, but I'm saying this. Instead of looking at who was, let's look at who will be. Let's create a scenario and rebuild this temple from the ground up with like-minded, like-hearted, like-spirited people that we want to invite to come and be with us. But we got to go out there and have the audacity, the tenacity to do it. We have to be willing to rebuild the foundation of our own self. Back to this line, because there's only a couple lines in here. The rest was a lot of words. But about step one, we start from the floor. Ground zero, it's always got to be the foundation. And we know this. We've known this in all our different aspects. We were talking the other day about goal setting and things like that. There's still going to be a foundation. There's still got to be a ground zero, a ground floor, to start building what it is you want to build. And we have to remember all the different things in our lives that may have fallen, and to grieve them and to let them go with love. I did a lot of talking last year about this colostomy and how the biggest lesson I got of it was about letting go. Because if you look at the Louise Hay concepts, and Louise Hay is a woman who healed herself from ovarian cancer, and she believes, as many of us now are coming on board and realizing, that the diseases that we've created in our bodies are the emotional and mental dis-ease we have felt in our lives, and that these things manifest. I've always said it from a place of that your emotions are a barometer inside of your body, and it is a barometer to let you know that when you are congruent with your essence, and your essence is of love. And as we are in flow with that love and flow with that essence, our body's going like, yeah, why not? Keep going, keep going, keep going. And when you're not, an emotion will come up to guide you and to let you know, hey, you swayed a little bit off of your essence. And if you don't pay attention to your emotional body that is simply trying to be a guidance system for you, then that disease starts manifesting. Go, hey, listen, buddy, listen to me. I'm talking to you as you're walking through your life, and I'm saying, pay attention to how you feel. Well, I didn't pay attention, I didn't pay attention, I didn't pay attention, and then something broke down inside. A thing is what it is. System failed. Stopped me in my tracks. Am I done? Oh, took a breath of air. I must still be walking the planet. So time to rebuild then. Time to own that the system failure was a set of conditions that I experienced in those moments, but all there is now, so I have a new opportunity to replant this seed, to refertilize the soil, take the contaminants out. If I found that I've been planting my seeds in contaminated soil, I have a bigger job than just planting another seed. Now I have to go in there and get rid of the bad dirt, replenish it, fill it back up with good fertilizer, do all the things I can to take care of what I'm about to plant into. That was what Jesus was talking about when he did the parable of the sower. I'm always going to go to the parable of the sower because it's one of the most powerful lessons in our lives. And I'm going to tie it into the parable of the talents as well, because what he was saying and trying to teach us is not only can we plant our seeds and make them grow and all those doubts of life can choke them out, but if we sit here and have all these wonderful things about us and never do anything with them. When I was a little kid and read this part in the Bible, it scared me, because if you look at this part in this story, there's the gnawing and thrashing of teeth. And, I don't want to be gnawed on. I'm like, who's going to gnaw on me? And I'm like, I'm really visual, so I'm like in this pit with something gnawing on me. Walk around not doing your dreams after a while. What gnaws on you? I got it, man. That lesson hit me so hard when I realized certain things that I wasn't doing with my life, and it was gnawing at me. It was eating me alive inside, because I realized I wasn't rippling when I said I wanted to ripple. If I said I want to ripple love, and I'm not doing anything, and I'm being too afraid to tell you I love you, or being too afraid to shout out to the world at the top of my lungs, I love, period, then what am I going to rebuild? What am I building in the first place? Is it a stick house that could be blown down? Or am I building something that has a real foundation? We come here and we have a foundation of camaraderie, of knowing that we've come into a place that people are looking into each other's eyes more and more and more, instead of just looking down and being afraid to bond with each other. We've seen a lot of people go away, and it makes fear want to come up and say, see, don't do the mission. And that's our opportunity right now to say, lovingly, thank you. You had your purpose, and it's not here. We're going to continue rippling out this love. We're going to continue reaching out. We're going to continue telling people. We're going to continue supporting people like Weep, who have their message of music and want to put out in the world that's more than just music. I love music, guys, and I've never been fanatical about music, but I'm behind their message as well as their music. Can you be behind your own message? Can you support your own music? Can you be willing to rebuild whatever fell short in your life? Reboot, reset, ground zero, square one. Can we start over? Can you just get back and go, all right, we did it as kids. We were so free with it. Remember when we used to say, do-over? We had no problems with a do-over as kids. Why do we put so much stress on ourselves if we have to do something over now? It's like, golly, and I do it to myself too. It's like we put this big label on ourselves, like the scarlet letter of failure. And it's like, how about attempt againer instead of failure? I'm an attempt againer. I'm just going to keep attempting it. I just made that up just now. How do you like that one? I didn't write that anywhere. Cool. That's being in the moment, man. But it's like being silly with it too. Is realizing that all I have to do is attempt it again. And maybe sometimes I'm going to find that Spirit's always playing with us. Coyote is always with us. Coyote showed up last night for them at their gig. But that we're always going to have an opportunity to laugh at ourselves and to laugh at, and this is going to be a hard one, the destruction of our temple. What? That's a hard thing to laugh at. It's like, yeah, it is sometimes. And I'm going to make this joke again, and I'm so willing to be out there with everything in my life, but my brother, my body has gone to crap since I've gotten sick. And I had already gained weight, and that was on me. That was on my donuts. That was my love for donuts. But the last 2 this last year sort of really killed my abdomen and torso, and everything got all like flabby and weak, and it really messed with my ego a little bit. And just to support that ego, my brother put that picture of me online. Not to do that on purpose, but that's where Coyote shows up. I kept looking at that picture going, oh my goodness, Mark, this is the worst physical picture of you anywhere. And there's only really one guy in the village that had objection with it. Everybody else was like, I don't care, I'm cool with this. Except for other people in the village that were going, yeah, we're cool with this as far as ego, we're cool with this as far as esteem, I can look in the mirror and still love myself, but something inside knew that I wasn't honoring the temple, and that this is a temple here, and that a line I wrote a long time ago in a poem that says, the addictions I've known from youth to adult have given some sense of worth, but shed them now all are more needed than known to continue my walk here on earth. Well, you guys know I quit smoking cigarettes 2 years ago. That was one. But there's been a lot of addictions I had been shedding before that. That was just a major one. Sugar has been another major one. I don't have a problem admitting things of my past because there's no shame in my life. I've dabbled in drugs. I've tried things. I've dabbled in alcohol. I've tried things. But I never became addicted to any of those things out there. Sure did with sugar, though. I'm like, why isn't this a class 1 drug? How come I should need my ID, a loan application, top secret clearance, all kinds of stuff to buy sugar? Because it's done more damage to me in my life than any of the other ones I dabbled in when I was young and played with and experimenting or trying to escape some of the woe within me. Ram Dass says a lot, I thought I was trying to get high, meaning in his younger days when he did drugs. I thought I was trying to get high, and I realized I was trying to become free. And when I heard that line from him, it actually, it moved me inside because it gave myself a break. I was able to give myself a break and realize that's all I've ever wanted, is freedom. And that sometimes that we want to rebuild something because we have to be the ones to tear it down on purpose. We may have built something that does not serve us, never served us, and then we're in it, and we're like, what? Man, I built this pretty good. Dang, what for though? I've got this big temple, and this spirit can't get out of it. So sometimes that outside temple isn't what it's about. It's about the first brick, this one, in here. We can build so many things with our love. We can build so many things with our passion. We can build anything with our truth, even if the truth is I hurt in this moment, or I'm sad, or I grieve, or I have to start completely over, or wow, this building no longer serves me. It did before because my ego was so big I needed this big space. But now I've popped all the bubbles of my ego, except for the one I need to be Mark and walk on the planet. I don't need this big space. You ever see some people that have so much money they just don't know what to do with it, and they buy this mansion that's just so big, and they're one person? And I'm not besmirching anybody abundance by any means. I am creating more abundance in my life. I am willing to heal the wounds of my financial life as we continue to heal the wounds of our financial life here and rebuild it. It's all part of the same thing. We're rebuilding is rebuilding. But let's look at it from a different perspective. Let's just break each one down for a minute. For me, I'm rebuilding a lot of physicality. My whole physical world got taken from me twice. First with TTP 20 years ago, and I never quite rebuilt myself out of fear. Because they're like, you can't lift weights anymore, you can't do anything that's gonna have internal pressure. So I didn't. But then fear took over and never let me do that kind of exercising again. I'm not in that state anymore. I can exercise again and build up enough internal pressure where I'm not going to hemorrhage inside. Well, then I manifested now at this stage of my life, and it was funny how I manifested this right on the cusp of when I started working out again. It was very interesting that life is like, nah, we're going to break you down all the way before we let you rebuild. And now when I look at my abdomen muscles, they are doing some really crazy things in rebuilding. So sometimes rebuilding may not look like what you thought it was going to look like. We have to simply be willing to be in the moment and discover what it's going to look like. Because you know what? At 51, my goal isn't to bench press 300 pounds anymore. I'm not even going to try to do that again. I don't want to do that again. But I would like to do the push-ups that I used to do because I had fun doing that. And I can like probably do 10 now, and I'm like, I used to do 100, so I'll be happy with 50. It's about rebuilding to a reasonable thing within ourselves. Now, we can go on to the complete science of mind type scenario, pure metaphysics of there is nothing in our body that is coded to die or to age. Nothing. There's nothing in our DNA about that. It's about nourishment and degeneration of cells. That's it. So I can rebuild from a place of ground zero, but I also have to honor that at 51 years old, I've walked through a certain amount of my life that certain things of the temple have been destroyed. And in this lifetime, I may not be able to rebuild those aspects. I may not be able to regrow my front teeth. Now, within us is the genetic code to do it. It's in the science. I may not be able to do it yet because I may still be in the way of that happening. I may still have enough doubt and thoughts in me to go, what, regrow my front teeth? That's never going to happen. Oh man, darn it. That was that thwarting thought. So no, I haven't hit nirvana yet, but man, I should have died with TTP too. So what the hell do I know? There's certain things that Spirit's like, you don't need the front teeth, but we will regenerate those blood cells for you. Keep visualizing, Mark. Keep looking at healthy corpuscles. I had an opportunity to go south with this one, and if I'm going to shit on myself, I probably should have started juicing the day I got out of the hospital. But it's okay, I didn't. I nourished my body, and I also stuffed my emotions. And I stuffed my emotions enough again to put that sugar addiction right back in my face again to make me realize, time to rebuild the temple. But rebuild it from every perspective. Again, for me, I'm always going to talk from my perspective because it happens to be the human suit I'm in. But I can share different life perspectives with you and go, okay, so you see me now divorced, my kid's up north, we're playing this game of shared custody, so next year I'll have her. It's all unknown. I've never been here before. I've never written these lines in a book. This is where the unwritten part comes in. This is the opportunity I have, and bless me with the name I was given. Pasqualino, told you again, means little new beginnings. So Spirit said, okay, we're going to put you in a body that is going to be constantly changing in your life. Because one, you're going to teach people about change. And to teach people about change, you're going to have to go through it over and over and over and over again. It's what owl means. Oh, it's over here. It's part of my medicine. It's part of my astrological sign. It's part of my imprint that I came in this world to do. And whatever yours is part of you. And sometimes when we walk this life thinking it's one thing and find later on in life it was something else, we have to destroy what was and rebuild something. Or just let it crumble. Just don't maintain it anymore. Watch what nature will do to a building when it's not maintained. It will overcome that building. Grass will grow through cement. Grass, little blade of grass. I have my next door neighbor's jasmine's plant is breaking my fence and knocking it over. Jasmine smells great, but it's not something that we would look at as power or force. But over time, it's breaking the fence. And over time, it will work. So nature will take care of itself. Sometimes just leave it be and go to a different square and start over and replant something. Make sure that you have your dreams in there. Make sure that when you're, which we're going to talk about a little bit next week in Wishing on Another Lucky Star. As I look at all the different things in my life, in one's life, sometimes we just have to, that's why all these words came out the way they came. It's like, I need to refresh, or restate, or realign, or remake. Did you guys get the line, too much smoke, just open the flume? Because sometimes that happens. How many times in our lives have we wanted to start a nice little warm fire in our house? Be all cozy and romantic. And then you forgot to open the flume and nothing but smoke is in the house. Everybody's coughing. It becomes a chaotic moment. That's exactly what that means. And I know that I have lived those moments in my life. Oh, all the time. And that's the coyote part of it, to just be able to remind ourselves and to lovingly laugh at ourselves and allow ourselves to once in a while forget to open a flume, but then to remind us when all that smoke is abound in our house to just simply go open the flume and it'll go back out. And the air will clear and then we can redo it again. And man, it's like, again, back to our 8-year-olds with the do-over part of us. Now, sometimes in certain games we had rules that there's no do-overs. There's no do-overs in this game. What? And we get all mad because, well, there's a do-over in everything. In life, there is a do-over. Now, sometimes we have to breathe into accepting the destruction of what was. And that the do-over isn't doing that over. What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over and over.
Oh my God, we awesome. So, how many times have we all done that? So I pride myself at being friends with a bunch of insane people. But we're getting better because we're realizing these things. We're realizing that to reconstruct means something was destroyed, and that's step one. We start from the floor. Return, requite, reincarnate. Who believes in reincarnation just in general? Okay. Do you know that you can reincarnate in your own carnation? That in this carnation, you can reincarnate, and you'll still be called Kim, or Robin, or Mark, or Marge. But who you were before isn't necessarily who you are now. Now your essence walks with you. That imprint, that voice print, that energy print is still recognizable. But have you ever met someone who's recreated themselves and you hadn't seen them in a long time, and then you see the new them and you're like, and it's a whole new person, and you can feel it and you see that joy in them. And usually when we're reincarnated, generally for the better. I rarely use the word better because I don't like the comparison part of us, but bettered themselves. How about we just say lived more of their truest essence? You know what I'm saying? It's just entertained the energy of loving more and was allowing themselves to be that beacon and to shine the true essence of who they were. And this way we can get rid of those better words. Because sometimes it's not about I was worse or better than yesterday, but maybe yesterday I didn't show you the whole reflection of my essence. Maybe yesterday I was on ground zero again and my temple had just fallen down and I was dealing with that part of it. So sometimes we have to breathe into what people are going through as they're rebuilding their temple. It's a very scary place sometimes, especially when it's all crumbling before you. When everything is crumbling down, it's hard to be in this moment. And I'm going to say that in my life, I have been able to be both. And that is freaking out at the same time as trusting that if everything is crumbling before me, that means something's about to get rebuilt. And to have that faith that I'll be okay, that I am okay, that if it all crumbled and my body just disintegrated, I'm still okay. That means now that's my new building. Oh, I'm a spirit again. Well, never left, but you know what I mean. Is that it's all good, that who am I to judge this? It's hard when we get that script change though. Here you go, this is what your life's gonna be now, and you're like, oh no, no, wrong guy, sorry. Yeah, I signed up for the other life, the one that's got a lot of money and like stuff. That's okay already then. So let's learn this one and review it. But sometimes it's like in choir practice, we'll do things all the time where, gosh, it even happened this for me recently with one of the Christmas songs. I had never heard it before. And the first time I heard it, but then I heard it again. And now it's in me. Now it's a song that I like to sing. So sometimes the first, what? I don't like this song at all. Can we sing something else? And Spirit says, no. Learn this one. By the way, you have a solo later. What? And it's good, and it's good, and it's good as long as we can breathe into these moments. Breathe into our own harmonies. Know that we're writing it. We're writing the stories of our lives, all of us. Sometimes we have to scratch it off and start over and just completely go from ground zero and let it all go. Know that it's okay, because I'm still walking, I'm still breathing, I'm still feeling, I'm still being moved by things. Man, I just let myself watch Les Mis for the first time, and I don't know how old the movie is, like 10 years old or more, right? It's been around for a while. And it moved me. I fell in love with Anne Hathaway, and I never even knew the actress because she embodied everything that we've always talked about as far as what the workshops were designed to do. And they were designed to help you tap in to those emotions. The workshops that Margie does and Scott does and I do, based on mastery work by Ted Danson and a group of actors, for people that got stuck in a certain role in their career and needed to pop back out of it, or to prepare themselves for a major role that they needed to tap into emotions. Well, they realized it worked for everybody because we all get stuck in some kind of a role in our life, emotionally or mentally. And when we're in a workshop, we always say, don't judge what hat I'm going to put on next to try to help you get tapped into that emotion that's been either stuck or preventing you from living the life that you want. Well, when I saw her perform this particular song, because it's a musical, I'm like, she tapped in. She tapped in so much, she moved me. And that's what entertainment has always been for, so that we can watch somebody tap into the wonder of their emotions through acting, because sometimes as human beings, we've had a hard time tapping into them as ourselves. So we watch it on a screen or on a stage, is how it began, to help the human condition. It was about helping the human condition. Well, when we're willing to go back inside to square one and to realize, man, I just tapped into them. I didn't really like what I tapped into because I felt a lot of sadness there. That's an opportunity to rebuild. That's always an opportunity to rebuild. And so many times we've taken that opportunity and ran. That's where the fear comes in. Forget everything and run. And just bolt. So we say thank you to those actors and actresses that do that giveaway and are able to tap into those emotions so that they can remind us what we may need to tap into from time to time to build into what, well, I threw my thing away, to build into whatever we need to build in. I hope I have it memorized. That's okay, I could always redo it. So it's always about knowing that every opportunity, every day, the spring, Jesus, everything he represented, the great Redeemer, the new beginning, the new way. Oh, what's our name? It's like, it's what he was doing. The story may have been disembodied a little bit along the way by men trying to control other men. We can let, one of the things that says Course in Miracles is God cannot change by what man made of them, nor can Jesus, nor can Mark, or Margie, or Tony, or Phil, or Julie. We can only change by what we make of us. If I need to rebuild something, I have to rebuild it. You can't rebuild it for me. You can say, I'll come over and help. What are we building, Mark? We're building a new wall. Okay, here's a brick. Thank you. Here's a brick. Thank you. But all you can ever do is hand me my bricks. I have to build. I have to build. Now you can love me. You can support me. You can encourage me. What's that saying? Flatter me and I may not believe you. Criticize me and I may not like you. But encourage me and I'll never forget you. I'm a big mush, I know that, but the biggest gift that you can do for somebody when you see them at ground zero and rebuilding their life is encouragement. Because in that moment, that is what they need. They are freaking out. They're at ground zero. They're starting over. They're at nothing. It's empty. For them, it's like, ah! You know the feeling? We've all been in it before. It's a very scary place. It's even scarier when you think you're alone. But all someone needs to do is say, I believe in you. You can do it. Right on. Keep going. I got your back. Any kind of, or just hug them. Doesn't matter. Any kind of encouragement, you have no idea. A show of hands, who can remember all the people, every single person that's ever encouraged them? No, I mean the monumental moments in your life. Yeah, I'm not talking, because I can also remember the monumental moments of the people who criticized me the most too. I don't always remember all the flattery ones, because I like to do the Chinese food thing and let them pass through me. That's another gift from Ron Dass, with your criticisms and your compliments. I always say, don't compliment me too much, because the universe seeks balance. There's going to be 10 people right behind me wanting to criticize me next. So one compliment, one criticism is fine with me, just to keep in balance. But if we gush on each other too much, then we might draw that critic in us. So if I have a sincere compliment for you to help you rebuild, it better be truthful, because if it's fake, it's going to be known within. And it's going to tap into a person that's going to go, you're lying. And that is going to disserve them in rebuilding their own temple. So breathe into it all. Breathe into it always. Know that everything in our life is unwritten until we let the words come off our face. Till we speak the words. Till we let ourselves write the story we want to. So rebuild from in here. Rebuild from in here. Trust your guts. Have the faith to know that you have the heart to start over no matter what it is. And that you have an abundance of people around you. They're gonna help till the field with you. They're willing to prepare the soil for you so that you can plant your seeds of love. Thank you.
Bless